Hello everybody and welcome back to another tips video. It has been so long. Now before we get into this, and if you've never seen any of my other tips videos, thank you for coming and watching this one and giving this one a chance. A little about myself, I have the Model 3 and the Model Y. I've been driving Tesla since 2019. And besides owning the cars as well as running this channel for all that time and talking to thousands of you, there's a lot of things that I have learned. And so I'm putting together 3 different tips videos. Today is 10 of my favorites. And favorites mean they're ones I actually use almost on a daily basis. So first we're going to go through these 10, and then at the end of the video I'm going to announce the giveaway winners from the last few giveaways. So make sure you stick around to see if you won. Alright, let's get into it. Now first, do you ever get frustrated how when you go out to your car and you press the button on your charging connector, it sometimes just does nothing? This is typically because your car is asleep or there's not a good connection with your Bluetooth between your phone and the car. And you often find yourself just getting out the app and trying to unlock or wake up the car that way. Well, if you just press and hold the button on that connector and don't let go, usually between 5 to 10 seconds, as long as you have your connected Bluetooth phone with you, within that time frame your car is going to wake itself up and it's going to unlock that charging connector. So yeah, just keep holding the button. Next, if you use the location sharing feature between your phone map and your car, and you're fortunate enough to have 2 different Teslas on your account, you might have run into this issue. And that issue is when you are trying to send something like a location to your navigation on your Tesla, but nothing happens or it goes to the wrong car. To fix this, you go into your Tesla app, swipe left or right to make sure that the car showing at the time is the correct one you want the destination to actually go to. So if I have my Model 3 showing on my Tesla app, yet I'm in my Model Y trying to send a map location to my Tesla, it's going to look like nothing's happening. But that's because it's going to the Model 3. So go back into your app, swipe it so you're looking at the Model Y, which is the car you're sitting in, then go and send the destination to your car, and it's going to show up in the correct car. Can't tell you how many times I banged my head against the window on that one. Next has to do with the windshield wipers, and this one's kind of simple. However, when it's pouring down rain, sometimes you just don't want to go in to your Tesla settings, your quick settings, and try to turn on the wipers. So there's 2 other ways you can do that. One, you can just tell it through voice control to turn on your wipers. You can also tell it to turn up or turn down the wipers, and it'll go up or down by 1 increment each time. But my favorite way to do this is on the left indicator stalk, just press that button in 1 time. It'll pull up the wiper settings, and then you can manually adjust it real quick on your screen. So there is 3 ways to do it, but they're not all as easy as each other. And I've just found when it's pouring down rain outside, I really don't want to be tapping over here on my screen too much trying to find the setting. This just gets it there a lot quicker. Now, if you use autopilot regularly, whether it's just auto steer, navigate in autopilot, or full self-drive beta, you may find yourself kind of messing around with the speed using the right scroll wheel on the steering wheel. And it's a real quick tip that people seem to miss a lot is if you want to get it back to the set speed, maybe you want to just get right back to the max speed and reset that max speed to whatever the speed limit is, just go onto your Tesla screen and tap on the picture of that steering wheel and it's going to reset your speed, your max speed, back to whatever the speed limit is. And remember, your max speed is adjusted by whatever you have in your settings. So you may say that max speed is speed limit plus 2 miles per hour or 2% or 5%. So you can go into your settings and fine tune, kind of adjust what you want to happen when you press on that speed limit sign. Now, speaking of adjusting your top speed, as we just talked about in the previous tip, you do that by scrolling up or down the right scroll wheel on the steering wheel. But there's 2 different increments that you can do this by. If you scroll it slowly, it's going to go up by 1 mile per hour or down 1 mile per hour or kilometer per hour if you happen to be in Canada. Got to include you guys. But if you flick it one direction or the other, it's going to go up by an increment of 5. And I don't know if I'm saying that exactly correct, but let me give an example of how that works. Let's say you're driving around at 35 miles per hour and say you want to go up to 40 miles per hour. If you do a full flick on it, whether it's a really aggressive or just sort of a little flick, it's going to go up to 40 miles per hour. It's going to go up 5 to 40 miles per hour. Now, to make clear how this works, if you're driving around at 37 miles per hour and you do the exact same flick, it's going to go up to 40 miles per hour. So it's not going to go up by 5 unless you happen to be at 35. It's going to go to the next 5 increment. So 40, 45, 50 each time you were to flick it, or the other direction it can go down as well. And then like the last tip said, if you just tap the steering wheel sign, it'll go back and reset your max speed back to where it was before you started flicking around on the scroll wheel. Now we have 5 more to go, and the next 5, in my opinion, are fire. They're getting better. So make sure you stick around, especially for the last one. But I want to pause for a quick second and ask you guys to help support the channel. And the best way to do that is by liking this video. That really helps to get this out there to all the new drivers or even not so new drivers. And of course, if you like this kind of content, you like learning about your Tesla and supporting Tesla creators, please subscribe to the channel. Now let's get to those last 5. Now we've just been talking a lot about the scroll wheels on the steering wheel, and the left one is the adjustment for the volume. But besides being an adjustment for your volume, it's also the best way, in my opinion, to satisfy something called the wheel nag. And if you've been in a Tesla for a while, you know this is something that happens every 30 seconds or so when you're using any form of autopilot, full self-drive, navigate in autopilot, any of those. And if you're watching this and you're not a Tesla driver, what the wheel nag is how the car knows you're still paying attention while you're driving. It basically asks you to put some form of torque on the wheel to let the car know you're paying attention. In future, we're going to be able to use the video camera in the car for that, but for now, we still need to do this. So there's really 2 main ways of doing this, and a third way I'll mention at the end. The usual way people do this, and the way that the car tells you to do it, is to pull on the wheel a little bit, give it a little bit of torque on the steering wheel. This will satisfy the nag, and I'm going to tell you why that's kind of an issue in a minute. But the second way, and the way that I recommend, and that most people recommend, is to just adjust the volume wheel. As long as you adjust that, and you can even do it on the speed wheel. Either of the scroll wheels do it, but if you do it on the right scroll wheel, that's going to actually raise or lower the max speed of your car, which kind of, is probably not what you want to do. But the volume on the left side, it doesn't make much difference to your driving experience if you just adjust the volume, especially if you don't even have any music on, it'll still work. That'll satisfy the wheel nag, so you don't have to worry about putting the right amount of torque on the wheel. And here's why that can be a little bit of a problem. So the problem comes in if you put too much nag on the wheel. If you put too much on it, you can just disengage autopilot. And this especially happens when the car is turning and all of a sudden it's asking you to apply some torque, or in the middle of an intersection doing something a little bit more fancy. It's really easy to put too much on it because you're putting pressure on it as well as the wheel is turning, and it's easy to just disengage autopilot, and that kind of sucks. So just quickly flicking the volume control, that'll take care of it. This is especially a big deal if you have a yoke wheel like I have in my car. That thing is not a perfectly round wheel, so there's a bunch of sharp edges, and it's really easy to just disengage autopilot or full self-drive, whatever you're using, if you're trying to do it that way. Now, the third way is a little bit different, a little more expensive, and I can't even say I recommend it, but it is a way to do it, and that is to have the sexy buttons, and that's what I have in my car down here on the lower part of my console. And you can put these buttons pretty much anywhere in your car, and they're all linked down below my video if you have more interest in them. But you can assign these buttons to do anything. The one on my far left, if I press that, it satisfies the wheel nag. Essentially, and again, I do not recommend this, and I never drive this way, but that will satisfy the wheel nag. I always keep my hand on the wheel anyway, but if I get that indicator up there, especially because I have the yoke, I just press that button and it will satisfy the wheel nag. I don't officially ever have to touch the wheel in my car. And the button to the right of it, this next sexy button over, actually engages and disengages full self-drive or autopilot. In my car, full self-drive. So you can use those buttons in any way. They're kind of fun. Now, this next one is small, but can help you avoid some frustration. And again, so many tips like this are like, well, duh, dude. But for a lot of us, it's not like, duh, dude. And that is if you share your car with your spouse or partner or some other person. I don't mean just share it, I mean you both have the Tesla app and the car is synced as a key to both of your phones. And the problem is when you get in the car and it quickly syncs to someone else's phone and you end up looking like some kind of squashed up pine cone in the driver's seat. This is especially a big deal because I'm 6'2" and my wife is 5'4". Our profiles are very different. And because we have 2 different vehicles, what we're able to do is set a priority profile for each of those cars. And the way you do this is in my Model 3, you go into my profile settings, you go into my profile and you check the box that says priority. That means that when we both get inside my car, my phone's gonna take the priority there. When we get inside her car, her phone's gonna take the priority, which means that her profile is gonna be instantly the one that gets taken. Now, this is another warning here that I got to be ready when I get into her car to quickly tap the profile button on the very top of the screen, quickly hit the drop down menu for my name before I end up again looking like a crumpled up pine cone. That's probably the worst definition or explanation of what I look like, but it's not comfortable. And if you've got a tall guy married to a short woman, you know what I'm talking about. And I suppose that works in reverse. And even that being said, this only just helps. It's still not perfect. Somehow or other, when I get into my car, oftentimes, it's still set on my wife's settings randomly 1 out of 10 times. I don't really get how that works, but it helps. Okay, next. So nowadays, a lot of people are using the 12-volt outlets located in the center console of the Model 3 and in the rear trunk of the Model Y. There's also one in the center console of the Model Y. But we're using those for accessories that are doing something while we are not in our car. An example of that is in our Model Y, we have two different refrigerators. We have one in the back seat that my kids keep like little lunches or water in or something while we're driving. But then we also have a much bigger one that feels completely into our sub trunk. And my wife uses that all the time. The way she uses it is in the middle of her workday. She'll go during lunch to the grocery store down by her work. And of course, her lunch is around 12:30, 1 o'clock. She's still got another, 5 hours till she gets home. So what she does, she goes and gets groceries and she puts them inside that fridge, all the cold items, and it keeps it cold the entire time until she gets home and she transports them into the house, the house fridge. But the problem is if you just kind of get out of your car without making one change to your settings, that will turn off the 12-volt outlets because they're attached not to the main battery that powers your car, but to the 12-volt, and that powers off, the 12-volt powers off everything when it sleeps, when it goes into sleep mode. So the way to avoid that, to keep those outlets turned on while you're gone, no matter what you're trying to power in your car, is by turning your car onto camp mode. And you do that by going into your climate control, go over to camp mode, tap it, and then until you get back in your car and change the setting, or really just start driving off with it, and then it goes into auto setting based on your profile or whatever, it will keep the power going to those outlets, keep running your refrigerators, that sort of thing. So this might not apply to you, but it might someday in the future. Okay, so did you know that your car has a secondary parking brake? So when you pull into your driveway and you just tap park on your car, that is park, that's your hydraulic brakes kicking in and stopping your car, and it's going to be, do a decent job keeping your car from moving when you're flat. And most of the time when you're on a hill. But Tesla has a second way of putting that park into like a secondary mode. And that is if you press and hold the button, the park button, on your right gear stalk. Now, this is separate from your hydraulic brakes. This is like an emergency brake in any other car. They're two separate parts of your car. So what that's going to be really good for is two things. One, and the primary purpose of it, is if you're on a hill of any sort or bad weather type of situation, you want to be really extra careful for your car to move or slide, that's what's going to be kicked in there. It's going to be way stronger for keeping your car from moving. But the second part of that is because it's not linked to your hydraulic brakes. If you're going down the road for some reason and your brakes failed, this would be a way of stopping your car. Pressing and holding that in will engage the emergency brake. But I will tell you this, that just simply pressing it, because people are often very terrified. What happens if I accidentally bump that park brake button? As you can see here, I'm driving, I'm pressing it, it just dings at you, it doesn't do anything. But I've never tried this, but I'm reading in the Tesla manual, pressing and holding it will still engage the emergency park. And of course, I'm not going to demo that, but that's something to be aware of in the event that were to ever, unfortunately, happen to you. But it is good to know that if you're ever in a situation where there's a hill, obviously you steer your wheels into the curb, but then also engage the secondary park. And when this is engaged, you'll see the park button appear, a different icon appear on your screen with the brackets around it, letting you know that you're in the, Arnold Schwarzenegger park mode. Now, last but not least, and this one just cracks me up because you see TikToks and YouTube Reels and everything all over the internet with thousands and millions of views of people making fun of their Tesla, laughing at their Tesla because they can't get in to the door handles when they're frozen. They can't get the handle to pop out. And really, it's true, it is kind of annoying, but it's just because you don't know about this next tip. So this one, if you haven't already, is going to give you a reason to hit the like button because you no longer have to look like an idiot trying to get into your car when it's frozen. And for the rest of y'all, you can stop making fun of Tesla over this because they built in a feature to protect from this. Did you know that you can open your doors, Model 3, Model Y, with a button inside of your Tesla app? And what that means, when you press that button, it acts just like you press the internal open the door button. It unlatches your door and pops it open. It doesn't like hydraulically open it, it just opens it without having to use any door handle. Yep, so sorry to disappoint all you guys who are getting all the views on the TikTok videos. Now, the reason why most people don't know about it is because you can't really find it in the Tesla app. You go under controls, it's not there. You see vent, you see other things there. You go into climate, it's not anywhere in there. It's not saying if my car is frozen, here's how I get into it, but here's how you do it. On the home screen of your Tesla app, you have those 4 icons that you can customize. And if you press and hold on any of them, it's gonna pop up and show you all your different options you have down there that you can use. One of them is called Unlatched Door. Click and drag it up to the top. You have to replace one of your other ones. There is a way to get 5 up there, I heard, but I don't know how to do that. And then when it's up there, just press that. As long as your phone is synced to your car, it's going to pop your driver door only. It's not going to open any other doors, but your driver door only open for you without having to use the door handle. Now, if you have ice all over your car, just like any other car, you may have to, pry the door open. After that, you might not actually open if there's, being held together, but at least you won't have to try to dig out the door handle, which is embedded into the side of the car. So I hope you guys had fun. Hope you learned 1 or 2 new things on that. And I know I've been doing a ton of product reviews here on the channel and haven't done a lot of these tips and educational and news stuff that I used to do that actually built my channel. And life has allowed me now to kind of get back to this and start doing a lot more of the stuff that I truly love. The reviews and stuff I love. I've always wanted to do product reviews because I really enjoy it, as well as it's kind of the bread and butter of the channel. It kind of keeps me going. I'm a small channel. I really can't rely on views too much to really make this all make sense. So until that happens, I'm thankful for those of you guys who watch my review videos and play along with the giveaways. And so speaking of that, here is the list of the winners from the previous giveaways. So I have them up here on the screen. So if this is you, what you need to do to get in touch with me is to reach out to me on either Twitter. So follow me on Twitter, get on, direct message me, follow me on Instagram, direct message me there, and we can swap your information that way. But I got a lot more giveaways, a lot more fun stuff coming up, you guys. So if you're new here, again, thanks for sticking all the way to this point. Make sure you get that bell rung so you get to take part in all the giveaways and whatnot. And again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.